Hey guys, this is Nick Christopher from Mob Tales. Thanks for coming on. I know it's been a little bit since we've been on. Been a little bit busy with personal bullshit. So anyway, today I have an interesting guest, Bobby Bright from Canada, who has a very interesting story. Been around some of the guys in the life, and he had an interesting life to begin with. So Bobby, thanks a lot for coming on, brother.
Oh, you're welcome, man. It's my pleasure to be with mano a mano with a nice man like you, man.
Thank you much. I try.
Me too.
Um, yeah, I know, right? Well, I'm gonna just I have a certain amount of questions that I wanted to ask you about your upbringing and things you've done. So I did a little bit of homework, so to speak, on this subject area. Um, my first question, of course, before we get really deep into stuff, is you were born in Canada, right, in Flemington Park, correct?
That's correct.
Which is called, they used to call it Little Detroit, correct?
That's correct.
Yeah. Now I understand you came up in a broken home. You had issues with your dad. Your dad left. Your mom kind of brought you up, and then you have problems with your mother as well, unfortunately. And you kind of like took hold of the household to some degree.
well,
Um,
well, that story was before my mother never brought me up. Um, as I'll tell you, she disappeared on this holiday, Easter, for a couple of years, and then I found her. But um, when she left, it was me and my sisters. Nice to steal just to feed us until somebody phoned the government on us, and then we were, you know. So,
yeah, wasn't it your aunt that took you in or something like that?
yes, yeah, it was my aunt on my mother's side. My sister, my older sister Paula, told her what was going on after. We tried to hide it. It was like maybe almost 3 weeks before we made the call, because you think young, we got the place to ourselves. Like we weren't really getting that mom was missing. It was all about partying and right. So, but
Yeah, I'm sure. I would take
yeah,
advantage too if I could.
in the
Um,
70s, so
yeah, I can imagine.
yeah.
Um, well, at that time, I mean, would you say that that being the case of your unfortunate upbringing, because that wasn't your fault. So your unfortunate upbringing, would you say that contributed to you ending up on ending up, in the street life? I mean,
Yes, it did because when Children's Aid and foster care and all that, I seen all the corruption in there. Also, I seen how phony and fake it was just for a politician to say. You know what I mean? If we get into it, I can tell you stories when I was in there, but us being alone, my sister and I became like very close. We used to fight like cats and dogs, and but this was real. Our father was gone, our mom was gone, but the truth was we didn't know if she was gonna come home or not, right? Because she used to disappear a lot, and and come back, right? There was no calls, no nothing, so we didn't know what to think. But after like when the Children's Aid come and they came to the door, and I hit one of them with my hockey stick, right? And then the full police force all looking for me, right? I knew it was serious then, and we can go on from there if you want.
okay. Well, I think I understand that at that time being, you were still in school really at that time.
Yeah.
I think you were in a junior high, I believe,
Yep.
like
Yeah,
eighth grade or something like that.
I was 11. I think I just turned 12. Yeah.
Oh, so you're like in seventh grade, more or less.
Yeah. Yeah. Junior high
Oh,
school. Our
junior
Canadian
high
system
school.
is public schools from kindergarten to grade 6. Junior high school is from 7 to 9, and then high school is from 10 to 13.
Yeah, like we are in New York, same thing. America,
Yeah.
same system. Um, So when did it happen when you really started to break into the street world and meet guys like Dean, who was
Right.
one of your best
Uh,
friends, Dean
well, well,
Popov?
well,
Um,
well, I'll tell you because I was a star hockey player, number one, and number two. Uh, I have to tell you how Dean and I first became very close. Back in the '70s, there was roller skating, right? Right, you know what I mean? And
mhm.
I heard that Dean was trying to hold the hand of my girlfriend at the time in grade 3 or 4. So so when I got back to school on the Monday, um, I had to confront him. We used to, up on the hill at 3:30 after school and let's dance, right? Right? And that's how we met. And after that, little people, what happened? I'm showing off for all my friends because I'm the heavy favorite, of course, right? And he just tackled me, got me in a headlock, right? And the fight was over. I couldn't get out of it. It was like maybe 30 seconds or something, right? You know what I mean,
Oh
right?
wow.
But what he told me after was, he goes, "You were the most scariest guy in the school," and I knew because of what his uncle used to train about wrestling, and then he goes, "I knew if I let go, you would have killed me," right? So, right, so even
Well,
after that, yeah.
he's Russian, right?
No, Dean's a Croatian.
Oh, it's Croatian.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Uh, okay, I got you. Yeah, wait a minute. That's interesting you mentioned that. Because didn't you guys have some kind of situation with Dean being Croatian and some other guy being Serbian in a biker gang?
Oh, yes, that was the Hell's Angels. It like we used to run the door, not hired specifically. There was a rock and roll bar on downtown Yonge Street, Toronto. It's called the Gasworks. We were like 16, 17, and we used to practice our boxing or roundhouses, martial arts stuff on the guys they used to throw out, right? That's for starters, right? So when we ended up at Rock and Roll Heavens, another rock and roll bar, this is when the war was going on. Uh, in Bosnia, right?
Right.
And our crew used to travel. Well, mostly back then downtown. The bikers owned all the strip clubs and all that, right? So we would train with them, and you get to know the guys that are there. You know what I mean? We had, I believe, like 3 chapters in our city at that time of Hell's Angels. Anyway, during the war, we used to have because we had a boxing club, right? We used to train kids how to fight and all that, and we had the best trainers in Toronto uh, to do it. And but that was kind of our home base, right? So to raise money, we used to have stag parties, right? Whether it's stay with the broads or casino night or just flat out just buy beer and all that, right? So this one night we had a stake for the North Toronto. It's called, well, it was Simcoe. That's North Toronto, the Simcoe chapter. And so when you're a member of the club, you invite other guys to come when you're having a stake party when somebody's being married, right? Right? So somebody phoned this guy, and he was from the West End chapter of the Hells Angels, and he was down there. But the rivalry, because Dean was like a chick magnet, and so was him, right? So apparently, why he had such a hatred on it, because one of the broads that he was, knocking ended up with Dean. You know what I mean, right? So he didn't like that. So so there was always that silent rivalry. Like wherever we traveled past with those guys, he would always give them a dirty look or something to him, right? And Dean always said, he goes, I want to beef him. They call him one on one, let's dance, right? But it never happened until um, we had the stag party. So now at the stag party, when he arrived, there was no reason to have guys at the door
Oh, you froze up,
gun down.
Bobby.
When he sees
Oh,
Dean, sorry? Oh, am I good now? I can't hear you.
I don't hear you. Now I hear you.
Okay.
Little tech difficulty there. All right, go ahead.
Yeah. But anyway, so the night of the stag party, we got strippers, we got card tables going and everything. And this guy showed up. His name was Dennis. He's Serbian, right? So he walks down, and then like as soon as he walks down, he sees all it. He sees Dean. So he says to the guy that was behind him, another West End chapter guy, says, "I'm going to shoot this guy tonight." You know what I mean? That's what he said. People heard it. We got the signal, right? When we used to have parties for other gangster crews and that, we never hid our weapons in the male locker room because it's in a box room. We used to hide it in the female, right? So as soon as when one of those guys went in and checked, and said everything's locked, they thought they were safe, and that's when they started, passing the gun and starting to line up my brother Dean. You know what I mean? But it didn't work, right? So soon as soon when those guys came out of the men's washroom and then that surrounded them, we came out fucking blasting, brother. Right? You know what I mean? Like aimed at him, nobody else, just fucking him, right? And I remember I couldn't see the gun smoke. Plus, I got my sunglasses on, right? Right? But we blasted him, and everybody hit the floor, of course, right? And when we shot him, he climbed out the back way. I tell you the truth, I thought there was a lot of dead people there, like just the way him and I just, it was carelessly, I'll admit, but at the time, right? But anyways, he climbed out the back way of our boxing club, and he was banging on doors on the street, the side street from the boxing club, asking for people to help him call an ambulance and like help call. And he happened to knock on the door of a good friend of mine's third wife's sister, which her son was training at her boxing club. I get the page because there was pagers back then, right? And so I call her, and she said, "There's some guy. He's banging at her door, asking for help. He wants to know if he can hide and all this stuff." So we went over, and guess what? It was him. We didn't know who it was, right? Anyway, we put a couple more into him. Not me per se, but the guy that I was with.
Well, he ended up becoming a paraplegic, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I ran into him when I was doing business with the Chinese. I ran into him because we all used to frequent the same places. There was a Chinese crew that used to welcome us into the restaurant after hours because we have tons of people, broads, you know what I mean, right? And everybody used to go there. It was at Broadview and Gerard, right? So yeah. So one night, this is years after, uh, he's getting strolled in there on his wheelchair, and I saw him, right? And his eyes open, right? Like he was in panic. And I said, "Oh, I come and said, listen, man, that was years ago. We kind of started talking on why it went down and stuff. Like I asked him, I said, why would you try to, try to come in like that for politics and some, stripper that you both were banging? Like, you know what I mean? I try to, but he just froze up and he started sweating. The guy that was wheeling him in, they booked it, eh? Right. So obviously he still didn't recover from it, but he never talked to the cops about it. So I'll give him that. Right.
Well, that, so you were technically connected with the biker gangs more than you were. I mean, you kind of started. You did start working for the Camiso brothers, if I'm correct.
Yeah, yeah. I'll tell you about the. Oh, okay. No, the bikers were when they started. When the Hell's Angels started patching other clubs over to become one. They were doing their nationwide thing. Um, in the early '80s, um, it was all about crews and stuff like that. We weren't looking to join anybody. You know what I mean? And but the '80s, because of the bikers all over Canada, mind you, the patch over into their club, and then you have so we got the Sicilians, the Camaro, and the Negretti here, right? You know, and and whatever influence they had in other provinces of Canada, that's where their loyalties lie, right? And that, of course, caused conflict here and there and stuff. But when it comes to our crew, they made a proposition to us, but we told them that no, right? We were like 200 strong, man. Like they couldn't put us under their umbrella, under control, as you will.
Well, let me ask you a question. But you said you had a crew of your own. You had about 200 guys. You said
Yep.
now, but you guys were not a biker gang per se. So
No.
you were just so so people can understand. So you guys were just a gang of your own.
No.
Okay.
No.
See, that's
It
why I
was
want.
like, oh, okay, you got the East End. I just named my area with hundreds of kids. And then we go down to the East End, Toronto on Queen Street, which is shy of the lake and that. Then there's a whole different other crew, like of guys, proud that you know we're on the same think page, right? And so it's like anybody in the East End can go anywhere, and if any problems, they can make one phone call. It doesn't have to be from a crew. It just be maybe her brother or something. That's with 10 guys. It was just insane for anybody to come in that part of town and try to pull shit on them, right? Like what happened again with the Hell's Angels. I'll tell you that story, right?
But so you guys were part of, so to speak. You guys were like the East End kind of crew, so to speak.
That's right.
So
Yeah.
so you guys had no look. So you guys didn't. You guys were not um indebted to anybody. There was no. You had no loyalty to anybody in particular.
That's correct. Exactly right. Like they tried, but we told them, so whether we need you, we got more guys than you. You know what I mean? And it wasn't just in Toronto. Like some of the guys knew people where their headquarters was, and all over Canada. It was kind of ego boosting, knowing that wherever I went, I can make a phone call and I got some backup, or whatever I needed. It was just beautiful back then.
So when did it happen that you went from that position, so to speak, and then you would divert over to um, working with the Camiso brothers. I remember
Oh,
you worked with them at a place called I think it was the White Rabbit or the Brass
yeah.
Rail.
Oh, okay. I have to give you the backstory on that, Nick. Um, Dean and I, not just for me, but for him, he was one of those guys that everybody was drawn to. He was built, he can fight, he had green eyes, he was a charmer, right? Everybody was magnetic to him. So we used to get asked um, to do security for when people have a boom and after hours club or whatever, right? Like it, there was no way in hell that if you asked me and they didn't hire him, it wouldn't happen, right? So sometimes I come up with the gig, or vice versa, and that was good for us because they used to put the word out. Know how you advertise something? They used to, remember named Bobby and Dean will be there. You know what I mean? The kids. Well, we were nicknamed the kids. The kids will be doing security, and just because of that, you know what I mean. It was great. Yeah,
Yeah.
not for me, but for Dean. Like Dean was like, well, we used to call him magnet because as soon as they walked in the room, you know what I mean, right? But oh yeah, man, like gorgeous women,
So,
just oh my god, it was just
so indirectly, regardless of the fact that you guys were street guys, you guys actually held a legitimate job.
yeah, yeah, oh yeah. Well, everything we did, we have to make an end on something, right? Like for instance, at what I was just telling you, this rock and roll bar was called the Gasworks, and that's how I'll tell you how we hooked up with the Camisos, right? There was another bar away from the Gasworks. It was called the Connection. We used to call it Selection because of all the broads. It was good.
Yeah.
So, anyways, one night some guy was getting out of line. Like I'm not the doorman or anything, but there's a line where when the doorman ain't paying attention because they're afraid to mess with them, which I never understood. But I knew why after I got my ass kicked. But anyways, um, so he gets, he's very rude. Like it's supposed to be a gentleman's club. When you're up there and you got, you know, you got to have some manners. You know what I mean, right? So anyway, he
Sure.
started on me because of skin of my color, right? Like I asked him to, calm down very nicely. I offered to buy him a drink, and he had nothing good to say, So bang, you know what I mean? But after I threw him out, well, we got tossed out. They carried him out. About not even an hour goes by, and then these fucking guys come back, man. I'm talking, they look like linebackers from an NFL football team, 6'6", but they have the fur coats, the pimp hats, and all that, right? And they got a hold of me, and I got my ass kicked that night, right? But after that happened, I'm in I'm black and blue. I'm sore. My friend Dean went to. We did a score actually. Like when the Gasworks didn't back us up, we ended up robbing them. Right, and then the money that we robbed them for, Dean went to Europe to try to get his girlfriend back because, like the summer, she was supposed to go to Greece with her family for the summer, and then she wrote him a letter said that my father's not letting me come back, right? So we did that score. He flies out to Europe, right? So while he's in Europe, this is when this stuff goes down with me, right? So, anyways, he almost gets killed actually. Her father, when he saw Dean on his lawn, he just opened up on him, right? So, but anyway, he comes back and he hears what happened with me, right? And first thing he says, "We're gonna get these fucking guys." So I'm like, "Oh wow, yeah, I'm in, whatever, right?" So, so I'm healed up a bit. So maybe 2 weeks after, we know where these guys hang out. Like once we knew who tuned me up, we knew who these guys were. So we knew what clubs they hanged out in, right? And
So these guys were bikers or
no,
connected
no, they
guys.
they, they were the Camiso associates. They were like handling like strip clubs,
I got you.
pimps, right?
Okay.
Right, but they were Portuguese guys, right? Um, so, anyways, we found out where they were hanging. It was a place below the connection, we used to call the selection, right? It was a strip park called the Brass Rail on Young Street. So we're loaded, and so we look in the window and we see there was like the whole Aberdeen was that front window. It was big, right? So Dean taps the window with the butt of the gun, right? They don't look at first. He does it again, and then they look up, and then I got, right? Let's go. We're calling them out, right? Right? They don't come out, so we can't go in there blasting with witnesses and all that stuff, right? So when we figured out they weren't coming out, we're giving them the punk sign and everything, right? So, anyways, after we left, they put the word all downtown that Dean and I are dead, that they're like, we're done, right? Like, I mean, everywhere we went down there, they're telling us, you guys shouldn't be down here. I don't want you in my club. You guys are dead, right? So we used to tell them, well, you tell them that they're fucking dead. Okay, you know what I mean? And we were trapped, right? You know, and we used to go tell them they're fucking dead. And our nicknames always since we were like 11, 12 years old were the kids, right? So the kids are telling everybody where we're being warned from these fucking guys, right? You know, right? And we're telling them, you better tell them. You know what I mean, right? And then it got squashed. This is where the Camisa brothers came in, right? And I can't remember exactly because they came down and met us. We thought it was a setup though, but they were actually there. But he said he goes, I would love to have you two guys on my crew. You know what I mean? Because these guys were fucking football, like like pimps, right? And they were fucking scared. They wanted mafia backup, like what I mean? Just unheard of, right? Right when they heard we weren't scared, right? And we did other things in the middle looking for them, right? Because we knew where they hanged out, and we used to do things to their cars and stuff like that. Make it look like we're trying to blow it up and stuff like that, right? So,
Well, now the Camisa brothers, were they connected to Rizzuto?
no, there weren't Sicilians. So you got to understand, it's a subtle partnership, but like if I go up to a Sicilian guy and say you're Italian, he'll say, I'm not Italian, I'm Sicilian. And I never got that. I was told that a long time ago, but I never got it until what I see. You know what I mean?
Yes, so
But they brokered a meeting to talk to us, and I I'm not putting Dean and I on a light, but he was trying to rectify these giants for being cowards. You know what I mean? They're with us because they're pimps, right? I never respected pimps. I don't believe in making money off of women. You know what I mean? Like that. And then, beating them up and all that shit that goes with it, right? You know what I mean? Like Dean and I right back then had that. You know what I mean? So fuck them, right? I don't care what fur coats, big fucking hats, whatever, right? We just, right? But anyways, so the Camisos brokered the deal to us to leave them alone. Like, it's just unheard of, man, this shit, man. You know what I mean? Right? Oh, man.
But did you end up working for the Camisa brothers eventually?
No, no, no. They offered us, okay, they offered us, just say they're in a jam, unbeknownst to us, there was a couple of beefs from Hamilton, Toronto, and with certain individuals, they would hire us to go and break the guy's legs or something. You know, we only did that once for him, but after that, it's just like, you know what, man? We both saw that we were getting fucked in the ass. Like, no, we're no slaves, man. You know what I mean, right? So, just that one thing, you know.
So from that point on, you just so you really weren't connected with the wise guys in any real way.
No, to tell you the truth, we never got that aspect of these guys are, you know, mafia, or we just thought they were crews. You know what I mean? When I clicked
Mhm.
on to the mafia, right, it was through watching The Godfather. You know what I mean? Then I got it. That was like, but honestly, man, we never thought it was, you know, mafia, especially the guys that the man that trained us had to crack safes and alarms or something. His name was Paul Volpe, right? He was down in Atlantic City, and he got mucked out because I guess he didn't kick up or something. But he was with the Hamilton boss at the time, Johnny Pops Papilia, right? I can tell you stories,
Right, Johnny Bryan.
right? So, but
So when did you eventually um, branch out from not so much branch out, but when was the time? Was it after Dean's murder that changed your outlook on that type of life?
oh shit. I was already there, Nick. Dean was the last straw for me to because through the years we seen good guys get hooked on crack. We've seen good guys get hooked on heroin. We've seen good guys, you know what I mean, right? And for me, it was the senseless crimes. Like the cops don't bother you. I'll give you an example. Cops used to drive by. It was a Friday night. We're all got our sunglasses on in front of the boxing club. You know, it's Friday night, right? We're all, you know, dressed to kill and everything. Cop comes by and he rolls down the window, right? Honks a horn. He goes, "Hey guys, good guys wear white." You know, right? We all started laughing, but he did that because anybody that got out of line in that whole part of town didn't get away with it. You know, there was no more home invasions. There was no more like guys ripping each other off for dope. There was no more of fucking nothing, and that was because of us guys. But as soon as when you start, you know, giving people the dirt nap, that's when they start coming on you, right? But at that time, I mean, everybody knew, you know, if somebody got out of line in our neighborhood, did something stupid that, you know, got the beat down, everybody knew who it was. Like, I mean, it wasn't no secret. Even the informants, and you know, we were always in the right. It's when you're in the wrong that's where it all comes down, right? Especially with law enforcement back in those days, I believe.
So like I was saying, the time? When was it that you decided to walk away from that type of life?
Well, I was kind of, you would say, a veteran in that life. You know, I've been around it since I was so young, and I had a family. I was in prison a lot, and both my kids were deceived inside prison. Mind you, I'm not proud of that, but it was when guys started, you know, getting high on their own supply, you know, with this and the careless stuff we were doing, and the people they were letting in. Like we started off with five of us in our crew, right? You call it the commission. It was five of us, you know, and we didn't need, you know, everybody else. It was just you're solid with us. Like it wasn't about adding numbers to intimidate anybody. It was just people liked the way we operated. We had the right guys in place, and we had the right guys that were friends of ours. Like, you know what I mean? And that's how it worked, man. So at that time, Dean Dean got pinched for shooting that guy in the bar. Um, that story was friend of ours called him up saying this guy's gonna shoot me, whatever. Dean will come to my place first, then tell me why. I give him the chunk I had, and he went up and shot the fucking guy. You know what I mean? Like in the leg, like not the kill, but anyways, he went away for a few years after that. So a lot of this stuff went on when he wasn't around me, right? So, but anyways, it was just federal investigations that they were going through my garbage. You know what I mean? And my son and my daughter saw it, and they were so young back then. You know, and plus my woman just it's this shit or us. You know what I mean, right? So, and plus at that time dealing after I was in with the Chinese mafia in the heroin business, I got hooked on my own supply. Right? So that's what did it.
So you're speaking of the Chinese triads, I'm assuming.
Yep.
Right. And so after all this happened, like you just said, this was like that you thought maybe it's time to get out of this stuff, to walk away from this.
Well, it was more
But
than
you
maybe.
never,
It was the writing was on the wall.
right. But you never but you never testified. You never flipped or anything.
Nope.
You
No.
just walked away from it.
I chopped my arm off. Like I mean, before in a big investigation, they always off you, and the, you might call this all right, but whenever the cops came over to my place, we're on first name basis. Like they used to say, "Hi, Bob. I'm you know agent this and that." Like we're like old friends, like from the neighborhood. That's the point where it got to. You know what I mean, right? But
Yeah.
you know, but honestly, man, it was at that time it was kind of a no brainer because I love my family, you know, and and I knew by them approaching me, it was kind of in my view was a silent thing because all the wiretaps and all that they had me on. I never incriminated myself, but I was always talking to do good stuff for people, right? Because we're making so much money the boxing club, right. So I think I had an impression just from the wiretaps, right? Because CSIS, well, CSIS is our FBI here, and I caught by complimenting on the tapes. Right, he wasn't specific, but I figured, you know what I mean, because I never said a fucking word on tape. You know what I mean? Right. So anybody that would try, we already had that embedded. It'd try, they're NG, no good, right? So, right, but they were impressed on when they're wiretapping. They get to learn about your life and stuff like that, and you know, they knew, you know, right?
So basically, for all intents and purposes, when you walked away from the life, you never hurt anybody from your past.
Um, well, your definition on hurt. Um, sure, enemies,
Well,
stuff like that. But
well, I
people
mean,
like that, I was very generous. We would, you know
well,
what I
I don't
mean?
mean hurt. I don't mean hurt physically, but I mean hurt. You never implicated anybody. Nobody ever went to
Well,
jail because of you.
I would cut my arm off before I do that, Nick. I was looking at, I was under investigation so many times for, a triple homicide and all that. But I'll tell you, man, I cut my fucking arm off before you know what I mean? Right? You got me,
Yeah.
that's all you get. And also with them, it's not what you know, it's what you can prove. You know what I mean? A witness can see the same thing and have three different stories. I learned that. You know what I mean? So if you got a good attorney, you know,
Yeah, of course.
yeah, right.
Well, and I did. So at this point of your life, now that you're out of it, do you ever miss it?
Yes. Oh shit. Man, it's the biggest drug going. The action, man. Dean and I suffered, and I'm sure with all the guys, you know that it was just a camaraderie of men doing a thing, and like and succeeding and making lots of money. Like I mean, how we that's not easy to walk away from, man. Like um,
Of course not.
yeah.
But
I'm
to
60
to
years
go back,
old now, man. Right, and I look back, man. It was just all of the struggle. The guys had enough that I'm still close with, and you know, still to this day, man. If we're in the right, we're there. We're in it, man. You know what I mean, right? But when it comes
well,
to
just
legal stuff, no.
well, just to go back real quick before we end the show. The one thing I didn't ask you, and I didn't really get into much detail with, is Dean's demise. Um, Now, because I never found out what was the reason for Dean, because Dean was murdered, if I'm correct.
There was no reason. Okay, what you probably read in when you Google his name and that report was total bogus. Dean was going away. He got pinched on the conspiracy beef. I was there when he got the call that they wanted to bring in tons of coke, tons of hash, right from Renard Desjardins, which was one of Rizzuto's lieutenants.
Yeah, it's those ends, yes.
Yeah,
He was a big shot. That guy was not small time.
yeah, big time. I can tell you stories overseas, just on that. But anyways, and I remember he said no, right? But his lawyers costing him fucking this. His third wife or second wife, her name was Paula, was a real piece of shit. You know what I mean? Right? And she's the one that set up his death. You know what I mean? With five other conspirators. But anyways, it was the night before he had to go turn himself in when he went to go collect the money for another guy, Donovan, because it was a double homicide um, when he was murdered. And the story, what they say, is just like on my channel. I'm gonna spell it out, right? But it wasn't what they said, and but Dean was too loyal to people. Like if anybody that he cared about, because when you meet somebody, then you start meeting his wife and kids, and then the kids start loving you. Like there's a different bond develops, right? And I have so many of those, right? And this piece of shit was really fucking taking advantage of Donovan's relationship with him. You know what I mean? Like it was a lot of money. You know what I mean? Here's a guy doing somebody a favor, and then you're getting, fucked for it. Like, but who else better to have on your side than a guy like Dean, right? To go and get it, right? When payments due, right? So, um,
So, so you're saying he was set up?
yeah, yes, he was. He was set up by his second wife. I have the proof. A guy came down asking me for protection if he told the truth that he wanted him and his family, in protective custody, but not by the cops, but by me, right? So, and I was setting it. Excuse me. I was setting it up, and then he went home, and then he OD'd. His wife OD'd. You know what I mean, right? So, but anyways, it's mysterious ways that all those conspirators on his death, they all died from ODs too. You got to watch who you buy that shit off, that fentanyl crap. You know what I mean? Right? So I'm
Yeah.
getting blamed for that now, but not. I don't give a fuck. You know, Dean had a lot
I
of
bet
fucking, you know, right? So, but I,
that's an unfortunate thing. It sounds like.
yeah, yeah. Well,
So,
up
so did.
up there in Cotter's country, you know, people talk and all that, but it was just when you do something to a man like that. I'm not saying Dean was an angel or anything, but I have to tell you that he's one of the best people you'll ever meet in your life, if you have. This from the first meeting, because he made everybody, when he shook your hand, looked you in the eye, man, he made you feel like number one, man. And automatically you feel it too. He was just magic that way. Like, I mean, all these you know, private, you know, big time guys, and that was all from his charisma, just from. And I was just like, you know, Ed McMahon on the Johnny Carson show, his sidekick, you know, right? But he was
Very
magnetic.
interesting.
Yeah.
Well, Bobby, I gotta tell you, it's been a pleasure having you on the show.
Oh, thank you,
Um,
bud. Yeah.
it's been great. Just one last question before we go.
Sure.
Did you ever think about doing a memoir about your life?
I have a. Oh, okay, I wrote a book, Nick, but when I tried to publish it, I didn't realize the antics and little corruption in that racket. You know what I mean, right? Yeah. So and then plus with family and stuff, with some of the stories, they didn't want Dean to be portrayed that way, and so I had to like water it down a little bit, right? So right, but I have the final copy. Like, here it is, man. Like, I mailed it, and here, here's all. Here it is, man. You know what I mean, right? So I got all my
Well,
him and I's prison stuff, and all the wars we went
well, you
in
know what?
here with
Well,
the
I don't know
riots,
if you,
stuff like that, right?
yeah, I don't know if you know, but you know, I've written 5 books, right?
Yep.
Oh, you know that?
I, sorry, you grew up in the 5 boroughs, you said?
No. I've no, I've written 5 books. I don't know if you know.
Oh, yes. I know you're a good author. Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
Loomis told me about that. He said, you got to do Nick. He's a good writer, you know, right? He's a cool guy. You know, I was down there with him and stuff like that. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Hey, maybe, look, if you ever think, maybe we can work together on it. You never know.
Okay, I will, man. Like I said, I'm a work at everything. I have your number. That would mean a lot to me, man. I'll tell you, the guy who sent me to the publisher, his name is Mark Campbell. He was the producer on a Canadian organized crime show called Intelligence. It was made in the 90s, I believe. And he got the stories from us guys in that show, right? Right. It's called Intelligence. It's a Canadian show.
Cool.
But anyways, he's the one that gave me to the publishers and that, but told me what to watch out for, and which I did, right? Because they want, just say my book, they want, say somebody from TV or something. They want 75%. You know what I mean? Right? So I'm like, you know, no.
Well, listen what I'll do.
Yeah.
You know, after we end the show, you know, I'll call you up another day and we'll
Okay.
talk further about it.
Sure.
I'll give you my thoughts on that, how to publish and stuff like that. So I'm gonna see what I can do to help.
Okay. And also, you're asking me about my Greek friends out here. Yeah, we can also do something about the guys I know out here. That I'll tell you, the Greek mob everywhere are the most sophisticated, smart people operating right now, besides the Jews.
Yeah, they're very quiet. They don't
Yeah,
stand out.
exactly. Yeah, exactly, man. It's great, man. It's great.
That's interesting. Yeah, we gotta talk about that for sure.
Yeah.
So, all right, Bobby. Thank you very much, my brother.
You're welcome.
It's been fun.
Hey, Nick. No, the thanks is mine. The thanks is mine, man.